Maria Daniels here with Successfully Chaotic, and I have a guest, Sandra Watson. And Sandra and I met, I guess, use the quotation marks, met on Instagram because I pretty much stalk her page, and she has some great content on there. And so I'm an admitted page stalker. I'm fine with that. But she posted something about, changing her mind. And that kind of got me thinking about, all the times that either number one, there's some opportunity that comes up that's like the bright and shiny new object. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that, which I've done that, a time or two. I've told story after story on this podcast about that. Or it could be another opportunity that comes up that maybe is kind of guiding us to our purpose. And from your post, I kind of got the idea that was more number two, that it was kind of guiding you to your true purpose. And I wanted to kind of dig into that because I think we hear so much about the other one about, don't change your mind, the bright and shiny object, don't get distracted, focus, 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 that when an opportunity does come up and we're trying to focus and trying to not be that person to follow every bright and shiny thing, that if we are not careful, we can miss an opportunity that is our opportunity. Can you kind of introduce yourself a little bit, who you are, and then kind of dig into that?
Hi, I'm Sandra Watson. I'm a strategy coach, and I typically work with entrepreneurs that are sort of at the beginning or initial growth stages, really getting them out of their mind and into action instead of just swirling into overwhelm. And I am just as guilty of doing that myself. The post that you're talking to specifically was the opportunity to apply for a mastermind that for me personally is way beyond something that I thought I would do. It's way beyond something that I thought I was ready to do. And it presented more than once to me. It's someone that I deeply respect and have followed for a while, and has been eating up sort of her free content, joined a Facebook group, etc. Didn't even know that she had it. And I have joined other groups in the past, many of them paid, monthly, and just didn't feel like it was the right fit. And so for me, even doing the application for this mastermind was a huge stretch for me. And it fits a lot of sort of my categories of what it is that I'm realizing I need to be pursuing and what it is that I'm really good at, instead of trying to sort of please a larger audience. I'm realizing now that the more niche down I get, the more targeted I get, the more energized I am, quite honestly. I love to write, so your compliments on my page, I truly appreciate those. And I kind of write snippets. I'm not a typical coach, whatever. I feel like that word is like, it's like
It's
the
so
word nice.
overused.
It's like the word nice. It's like, oh Lord.
Yeah.
So I try to really write what's in my mind, what's on my heart, and what I also see either clients or people that are coming to me that are DMing me and looking for what should I do here. Really trying to help them refocus back on themselves instead of feeding off all of the information, all the freebies, and all the stuff that really just keeps you in that cycle of overwhelm, instead of really clearing that mind clutter and trying to get quiet, which can be scary. I mean, I completely get that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of times when it comes to the free, and I've been guilty of that too. You're saying this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I want to sign up for all their stuff, and then I open my email box every morning. It's like 797 messages.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
So then I have to start with an empty email box because this is like I have selective OCD. I've termed it myself, diagnosed myself. I have selective OCD. So what I end up doing is I just mark all as read. I mark all as read. I go through and skim to look for anything that's actually important, that actually should be in my email box. And I've done all the filters and I've done all the tricks, and somehow it still ends up in my flipping inbox all the time. But I think you're right. Sometimes it's okay to say no. It's okay to say that that's an awesome freebie offer, but it's not for me because it's going to clutter my inbox, give me anxiety. I'm not going to read it anyway. That's a problem with a lot of stuff. And then I do the same thing. I look at it, I'm like, well, I don't want to like unsubscribe because I might, look at it later,
Yeah.
Quotation marks.
I have a little rule with myself because I am totally guilty of that as well. And sometimes you really find like even more meat within like the next series of emails from whoever it is that you downloaded a freebie from, which is a treat, but it's an anomaly too.
Yeah.
If I get something like say on a Monday and I haven't used it, or I haven't really been grabbed by it by Friday, I delete it. I will stay on the email list for at least a month just to see where it goes. And then after that, I do unsubscribe. So I unsubscribe a lot. I'm sure, it's ebb and flow.
Hmm.
You want the right kind of people to be looking at your stuff and to, really dig your vibe and stick around, and vice versa. I don't want to waste anybody's time. And those people, they don't, want you to just
No.
be deleting it. They'd rather you sort of inactivate yourself. And I think there aren't a lot of people that really write really good emails. I mean, let's just be honest. They could create an awesome downloadable PDF or workbook, etc. But beyond that, are you really going to stay engaged? There needs to almost be like you were saying, the bright shiny object. People want video. People want to be able to sort of delve in and be like a fly on the wall and learn a little bit more that way versus just the written word all the time. And I know for me, I don't even own a printer. So if I'm getting one of these downloadable things, if I don't read it, it's I'm not going to print it out and, put it in my binder, and, it's just not going to. And it's been that way too for me with courses as well. Like if there isn't like a real grabbing piece and that live element, and I totally dig the person that's the instructor, I'm not going to show up all the time. So
I think that is super important. And I agree with you. I know I've started to really pay attention to the emails that I do open, because we've already gone over the fact that I am a junkie at subscribing to some of these freebie things that are so awesome. And it's not that their emails are bad. Honestly, most of the time I don't know because I'm not reading them, but they're not attention grabbing enough in the subject line that I've automatically added that to my just mark as read file, right? If I use the term file obviously very, very loosely.
trash.
So, yes,
Yes.
pretty much.
I understand the code word.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that the ones I end up opening ends up being something, honestly, most of the time humorous. And that could just go with my own personality, because anything funny, I'm all in. I'm like, oh yeah, I just like soak it up, whether it's, just entertaining or entertaining, with some purpose, which is I prefer. I usually tend to open those more because, I want to see, like, if the subject line's kind of fun, I'm like, oh, I don't know what that's about. And I click it open just out of pure curiosity.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've noticed those are the ones that I do. Now, for my own email marketing, I'll be honest, I'm hot and cold. Sometimes I put a lot of thought into it. I'm like, this is gonna be amazing, it's so good. And I'll do like you're supposed to do and put it into, a few different wording for the subject lines to see which one does better, so I know for next time. But then the next time I'm supposed to do my email marketing, if I haven't done my due diligence and actually prepared something, it's like wham bam, thank you, ma'am. It's terrible. And I know this, and I know it's better not to send one, and yet I do it anyway. So it's like, it's funny because when I'm talking to people, I'm like, some people will call to ask my advice, and I'm 100% honest. Professionals don't always have it all together. And I think that's one thing that people, and that's actually one of the reasons for this podcast is, the idea that as a professional, you're perfect all the time and, everything is great. And once you start your business, you got the money rolling in, you got so much time, family life is great.
Like,
and, it's like,
I got it. No problem. Yeah.
And
I think there's so much facade out there, and almost just blatant lying, really.
Yeah.
Coming back to what you were saying about you sending out your emails, that is kind of an underlying strength a lot of people have and an underlying weakness a lot of people have, and that is just planning.
Yeah.
And planning and problem solving, and those are probably two of my biggest strengths. Way back, I had an event planning business, which I eventually closed after 3 years because I never saw my family. But I love to plan, and planning can be painful for a lot of people, and I totally get that. However, if you sort of think big picture and then go back and fill in some of the details, the amount of stress that you relieve mentally from yourself, physically sometimes, I know for me, emotionally, when I know what I'm writing, what am I trying to do with what I'm writing, instead of just writing something, trying to sequence things like, if I really like the topic of authenticity, Are there like 4 or 5, snippets on Instagram or blog posts or things that I can incorporate into my newsletter, repurposing content, of course, but that really pick that theme. And I think that's also a really great way to track interaction. I completely agree with the funny headline. I
Yeah.
think that's also really good, like on just other thing, like where you're, applications where you're just scrolling, like a picture. I pick pictures, honestly. I mean, this sounds like sort of selfish or self-centered, but I pick pictures because I like them. Like it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like it's, and if you dig them, sweet. That means that we would probably, dig each other. But if you don't like it, or it triggers you, that's not my intention to trigger you negatively, but sometimes maybe that's good because it
Yeah.
makes you think like, well, why does that kind of piss me off? And I've
Yeah.
unfollowed people because it's like everything that they post triggers
Yeah.
me. But
Exactly.
then
Yeah.
I'll come back to it and I'm like, well, why does that bother me so much? Like what is it? And typically it's because they're fake. And it's like so everything is so perfect. Everything is so um, curated, and just be real. Like
Yeah.
everyone struggles in certain areas. Everybody needs to learn from other people. When people reach out to you via DM or what have you, do a gut check. Like, how does it make you feel what they're saying? I know I personally am really getting tired of being sold to in DMs, and typically it's from other coaches, and it's not like
I
I'm
don't
standing
even
up there
read
like
it.
I know everything, so
Do you
whatever.
read them? Because I
But
honestly don't.
don't
I
be a
open
cheese
and
ball.
yeah. I instantly close it. Do you read it?
Sorry.
I said I instantly close it. Do you read it whenever they do that? Because for me, it's like instant out. I'm instantly out.
Yeah, there's one person in particular that has sent me DMs repeatedly, kind of intermittently. He creeps me out. He follows me. I've gone to look just to see his page. It seems like fake, so it's
Yeah.
weird. Or the single
There's some
guys
good
that follow
people.
you. I'm like, I'm married. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know why you're following me. It's nice that you think I'm beautiful and like my photo. What? Like, it's just.
Yeah.
I guess I
I've
didn't
had that.
realize it was also a dating platform at
Yeah,
times, but
I've
okay.
had that. I've had that
Yeah.
happen too, and I'm like, "Listen, you are barking up the wrong tree. I'm married with 7 children. I don't
Right.
really think you know what you're getting into here."
You're like,
You know?
I have a ball and chain. Move
Yeah,
on. Yeah. No.
exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
Lord. But yeah, but honestly, I think that's a good analogy to go with when you're talking about just marketing and sales in general. So many people make the mistake of kind of getting to that, and I use this. I know other people have used this before too. It's kind of like instead of dating and courting, it's like as soon as you meet somebody, you pop down on one knee and pop the question. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
Exactly.
hello, you do not know me, you have not courted me, you've not dated me. I want some dinner and some wine. Get to know me before you try to pop the freaking question, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just crazy. And I think it's part of this world we're living in. And honestly, back to just kind of like things that kind of irk me and annoy me is the same as you, the fake, I want raw, I want authentic. I don't want, yes, fine, throw up a pretty perfectly curated, picture every once in a while, whatever. I like that sometimes too. But if it's only that stuff and you don't ever see the messy, you don't even see the real, you don't ever see, the authentic. I'm sorry, nobody's life is perfect. I've worked with people that have Fortune 500 companies that, trust me, their life is
A
nowhere near
mess.
perfect.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
it's just crazy, and it's crazy to think that that's where we've become. And I honestly, for the longest time, I kind of have, and I still kind of have a love-hate relationship with social media, but I had a worse love-hate relationship with social media because I'm so confused by it, because it seemed like that was what we were supposed to do. You're a business owner, you don't want to put that out, da, da, da. I'm a rebel though, and I go ahead and just put out the stuff. Like if you say that I can't do something, pretty good chance I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. And that kind of like eggs me on too. I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie. Like, it's kind of like, what did you just say? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
That's going on my
I
business
love a
plan.
challenge. I do love a challenge. I
Yeah.
know for me too, like it's my biggest hurdle has been fear of judgment, fear of putting myself out there more visually. Like I know I'm smart. I know my shit. I don't know if I could swear,
You can
but
we say shit on here. It's good.
oh, awesome. Um, but it's not selling to people for me. It's like drawing them in. It's like I want to attract the people that like get it, and what I'm saying um triggers them or just reminds them of the fact that they do have this dream, or they've been sitting in the same pile of shit for like 2 months, and they're like, why can't I move on from here? What do I need to do? People that realize too, I know for me it's for anybody it's frightening monetarily as well. It's like making those investments, figuring out, okay, I've got like 9 choices of courses or this or that I can do. How can I eliminate 5 of those at least, and then like do further investigation or do like a discovery call? People are so afraid to do discovery calls. It's like, I don't have your credit card information.
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk to me, that's cool. Like, I get it, but that would be also kind of a red flag, because if we're
Same.
going to do coaching, we're going to actually need to chat, and you do need to let down some barriers. And I understand that that's scary. So people, I think, are very much lurkers. And I realized too, for me, for my business to grow, I need to get much more into, well, actually doing video. I shouldn't say much more. I haven't done any at all. So people can hear me and see me and, get to know me a little bit more. Because I know for me, that's a huge selling point. That's what made me go for this mastermind, was because I really liked, I really like her energy and the people that are around her too. It wasn't just her. It was because I joined this other huge mastermind and I respect this woman immensely, but that was not my tribe at all.
Yeah.
It was a
And
lot
that's
of
okay.
like, it was a lot of like boasting. And that's just, I don't know if it's just how or where I was raised. It's just, that's like a huge turnoff to me.
It is for
It's
me
like, if
too.
you have a
I
lot of
did this.
money, you don't actually have
Yeah.
to talk about it. You just,
Yep.
it is
Yeah.
what it is. So,
And most of the time, it's not always the truth too. I was trying to think of a really good PC way of saying that, but I couldn't think of one. So we'll just go with not the truth. It's just not the
it's
truth.
true
Because,
though. I feel like that's sort of boasting and bragging is that's in every category, when you have to just constantly talk about like all these, like, well, I can coach you to 6 or 7 figures. Do you make 6 or 7 figures? How are you? I could probably coach someone to 6 or 7 figures. Am I at 6 or 7 figures yet? No. And I have no problem admitting that. Like, so what? Does that mean that I'm ineffectual? No. It just means I'm honest.
yeah.
And I don't need another course or a PDF download to be like, do this, do this, do this. A lot of times too, like there's a business coach out there. Her name's Sarah Dan. She's fucking awesome. I have bought things from her that were like $17. I bought things from her that were, way, way, way more than that, group coaching programs. And she completely walks her talk. She's someone that I respect a great deal. And she's always like, stop talking about things that you haven't accomplished.
Yeah.
No one's interested in something that you didn't do. And that's what I see all the time. And it's extremely frustrating because, it's like the term coach. It's just everywhere. It's like, a one big, pot of soup. And how are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to stand out? And how are people looking for you? Like on social media platforms, are people Googling like, I'm looking for a strategy coach? Probably not, right? Other coaches are looking at strategy coach, but the layperson isn't going to use that terminology. So that's been another area that I've really been trying to focus on is reaching people, where are they and what do they need now? Especially after this year, dear God.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This year has just been, I've said this a couple of times because I've been in kind of the marketing world for many, many years at this point. And this year is going to be one that's literally going to be in every lesson, probably
Right.
for decades and decades to come, because there's no preparing. And, that's another thing that, like, in the marketing world, I'll hear marketing coaches specifically say, some triggers like, we can do this and we can do this and we can make sure to do this. And I'm like, dude, marketing is like the stock market. You cannot guarantee anything. And as soon as you think you have it figured out, boom, next second it's
Yeah.
changed. And
Yeah.
the only
And
thing that you could do is really work on yourself and how you're presenting yourself.
I think too, like just, I definitely a lesson that I have learned, like I didn't launch what I'm doing until late July, but I've been thinking about it for like 5 years, is just like keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Like start with 3 areas and just nail the hell out of those 3 areas. Stop looking for other input from other people, or like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? It's like, what do you think of it? What do
Yeah.
you like? Who are you trying to help? Who are you trying to serve? And what you're doing, do you love doing it? Because if you don't like doing it, people can pick up on it, right? Like they're just like, well, why would I work with you when I can work with this other person who's, seems much more genuine or much more reachable, and also talks to me about accountability and all the buzzwords. So yeah, I mean, there has to be like a common and a friendly and genuine energetic exchange. I think that's
No, I
something
agree.
that I when I first started did not have really integrated into my business. I was very, I was raised by a dad. I went to business school. I just male energy, and it's like I've pushed all the other away. And now I've come to really realize that that's actually that's one of my strengths too, and I need to incorporate it, um, because that's how I tend to pick people. So it's like, well, then why aren't you doing it, dummy? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that's been a real eye opener for me. I'm in a house of men. So it's 2020 has been even more isolating for me in that way too. It's like, oh my God, God, I wish I had my own bathroom. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it's every day is definitely like a learning experience for me. And the people that I do follow and that I do listen to, like yourself, um, it like pumps me up when I see other people's posts or videos, and I so dig humor too. Like the more sarcastic, the better. What was
Yeah.
that one that you just did? The um it was like sarcasm mixed with another word.
Oh, sarcastic. Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
so
Yeah.
it's funny because growing up, I was always told, "Stop being so sarcastic. Everything's not a joke, Maria." And it's funny because I don't have the ability to not kind of mix that in there. It's kind of my love language or something. It's how I express myself, and also I also use humor if I'm stressed out because I can
Hmm.
instantly make myself far less stressed. My anxiety, I can get control of if I can put some humor in it. So, all these people that have said this, they don't know because I mean, my life has been like a crazy roller coaster out of control with the track on fire. I mean, it's been crazy. I've had a journey. And for people that listen to the podcast, I've shared pretty well lots of my journey, the good, bad, ugly of it. And, without humor, I don't know that I would have made it, honestly. I therapists are amazing, and my therapist has literally looked at stuff and said, I don't know how you function
Or
this well.
still
And I'm like,
hair.
thank you. I'm taking
Yeah.
that as a compliment because it's just how it is. But I think, you can look at it like a negative, like you never take anything seriously, or you can look at it and say, okay, well, maybe, that's part of my superpower that I can kind of shield what could be so crippling by introducing some humor. And everybody's got their own superpowers, right? We all got you mentioned that you tried to kind of push away the masculine, energy and,
No, push away the feminine.
or the
Yeah, definitely.
feminine
Yeah.
feminine
Yes.
energy, but
Yeah.
that is your your superpower. So I mean, that is something that we need to kind of look at, that there may be a reason that people were trying to help us by telling us to do those things. Like, I'm sure my parents just wanted me to focus on my schoolwork. My teachers wanted me to stop talking during class, stop being the class clown. I mean, I'm sure there were reasons behind it, but sometimes I think we let those voices kind of get into our very soul, our very being, and it accidentally ends up really affecting and kind of polluting every aspect of our life if we're not careful.
Totally. And we think that there's no choices. We feel like we've already been defined. And I did not have a stable childhood either. And so sometimes I will see things and they'll trigger me, and will trigger me to the point where I'm super visual, to the point where I will see a memory, and it's like, I know I've done enough, uh, spiritual work, all of those kinds of avenues, that now I know how to process that instead of just deflecting it. And honestly, like, my parents are still alive, and they're lovely people in their own right, but they're the last people that I would ask any opinion of, because I'm still 13 years old to them. Same with my brother. It's like, it's not that they don't want to believe in you, or they don't want to see the best in you or help you, but I'm in a completely different realm than them. I'm at a completely different point in my life than them. And I don't feel like their input would be positive. It would
Yeah.
be more like, well, why are you doing that? Or why would you leave that job? Or
Yeah.
why would you? It's because,
Too.
I always see opportunities instead of
Yep.
feeling like I have to, like, live in my hovel forever. Like, I am so the girl that, like, I'll just pack my truck and, like, let's move, man. Like, that's
Yeah.
just because I wasn't raised with a ton of stability. So I think I'm used to having to reinvent myself, having to reassemble somewhere else. And I know it's going to be okay. Like, it can be scary, of course, but I've always landed on my feet.
And I think that's important to really look at, because I've said similar things that, this year has sucked. I'm not saying it hadn't sucked, but it hasn't hit me the way that it's hit a lot of people in my circle. And I think it's because all of my years kind of suck. Not to sound like Debbie Downer, but I mean, all in all, I love my life. I do love my life, but is my life easy? Absolutely freaking not. I
Yeah.
haven't had an easy foundation.
But if it was easy, it
Just
would be so
no,
boring.
it
And then we
would.
wouldn't have, like, content to pull from, or, like,
Yeah.
crap to share or whatever. Like, if there's one thing that, for me, that I know I am deep down, and even as a kid, and I didn't know what the word was I am resilient as fuck. Like, I
Yeah.
really am. And out of complete necessity at first, but now I realize that probably is one of my superpowers. And I try to bring it out in other people. They don't even realize, like, certain areas of their life they're resilient, other areas they're not. And typically when they want to go for some kind of entrepreneurial dream, it's like they're like, well, they want to have all the answers, which is, typically women in general. We want to have, like, all of our boxes checked before we apply for this job or this or that. Whereas men are just like, yeah, I'm just going to go for it. We need to, like, incorporate more of that energy into it, and realize that we always have skills to sell, even if we don't have certification in this or a degree in that. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. And in fact, I think a lot of people that don't have a ton of education or certification in certain areas can actually be a lot better,
Yeah. They're
because they haven't
reading.
gone through the group think. They haven't done they've taken bits and pieces of people that they truly admire. Maybe they've gone through coaching or counseling or what have you with those people, and they've incorporated it into what it is that they're trying to do for the masses, or hopefully not the masses, hopefully a niche, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're going to be all over the place. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, know your strengths. Like, stop talking about your weaknesses. Focus on your strengths. Look at the opportunities. There's always going to be threats, um, to your brand, to your business, etc. But man, there's so much out there. There's so much, especially living in the United States.
I agree. And I think, resilience is one of those that I definitely think is one of my superpowers too. And I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't understand for a long time that I seen things differently. I didn't understand, like, well, why does that seem so hard? Because, I always jokingly in the non-PC version always have said redneck ingenuity. That's always been my
I
term.
love.
So it's definitely not PC, and I may get in trouble for saying it, but I say it all the time anyway, so it's fine. Write me a letter. But
It's
I
like
mean, I
driving
stand
down
by
the
it.
road
Yeah,
with a half flat tire. It's like, what's the
yeah,
problem? I'm
yeah.
still
We can
moving
we can do
forward.
this. It's, I grew up with no money. We had like less than no money. So there was always you were literally always trying to figure out another way around everything. So being able to be resilient and also being able to really think outside the box, like even in my marketing world, I've always branded myself as the out of the box marketing expert, because I am not the cookie coder, let's check the boxes marketing. That's not my thing. That's not my superpower. Can I do it? Okay. Yeah, I can do it okay. Is there people that do it better than me? Billions of people. So, I mean, that's not my thing. But I can give you some redneck ingenuity like nobody's business. I can look at a problem and say, okay, well, why don't we try it this way? Because this seems like this would be better, and here's why. And so, I mean, I think that sometimes those, like you said, those weaknesses, we look at weaknesses because they're not in the norm. They're not what, most people write on their resume. I mean, I don't write on my resume, I'm very redneck, I'm great at redneck ingenuity. We try to find, positive terms for them, but all in all, a lot of the hard things we've gone through, a lot of the things that have been looked at as weaknesses are superpowers. Those are what becomes our superpowers. I don't know very many people that are kind of really big and have done like amazingly great things that don't have some type of a really hard, crazy story. I really don't.
Yeah. And typically I find too, it's usually some kind of childhood
Yeah.
story. It's
That's our
instability
foundation.
or trauma. Totally. Completely. And yeah, it's a huge, huge motivator because, I mean, you're a mother of 7. I'm a mother of 1. Although he is a boy, so that counts as 2.
Counts as at least 2.
But I mean, I would have loved to have more, but anyways, that's a totally different story. But yeah, I don't want him to have the same experiences. I want him to have experiences and develop that level of resilience and
Yes.
that hunger and that drive. And he seems to have already really started to develop it. But I don't want him to develop those things out of instability
Necessity.
or fear.
Yeah.
Yes. I want him to be, have to go into like some kind of sport and realize that not everybody follows the rules. Not everybody is kind.
Yep.
Not everybody is going to have the motivation or the excitement level that you are. And that is life right there. Like, it's like,
Exactly.
and you can't motivate somebody else. You can only motivate yourself. That's one of like the biggest lessons that I have learned in business school and in the business world is like, my level of expectation is here. I cannot put that on somebody else. And you cannot work harder than your clients too. That's, my God, you can't do the work for them. Even though a lot of times they really want to. Yes. And it's hard because it's like, I don't want to be your mom. I'm not interested in being your mom. Yeah. And it's like,
I think that should be a hashtag. Hashtag that.
Right. And sometimes it's like they want to hear it and they get it. And other times it's like, oh Lord, this is going to get ugly. But
well,
it is what it is.
I found that I work the best with the people that haven't had, it like all together. They don't think they have it all together. I mean, the messy stuff. I work best with the messy people, the people that,
and I love them.
I do. Favorite. That's mine too, because they usually already have, like you said, resilience. They already have kind of that ability to think outside the box. Things have not been so structured that they have to go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or they're going to, those are not my people. My brain does not work like that. My brain does not work like that.
I think too, when you've gone through those hurdles, like especially over and over again, and things haven't been smooth sailing, you didn't come from wealth, all that stuff. You develop like a level of self-awareness at a younger age, you usually, not always, and you know more about what you want, instead of, I think I focused for a long time on things that I don't want, versus no, what do I really want? And a lot of times clients that I work with that have, like the 10 different ideas, it's like, where are you trying to get? Where are you trying to get to? Because I can help you develop like an awesome roadmap. But if we don't actually know what your destination is and what it is that you're trying to create, you're never going to get anywhere. You are going to be, at a roadside stop for like years. And you're going to get pissed off and you're going to blame others and you're going to keep downloading free PDFs that aren't going to tell you how to actually take action. They're just going to tell you to fill in the blank of what you think is awesome this Thursday morning. It's hard to watch sometimes, but it's like, it's a lesson that people have to learn on their own timeline.
I agree. And I think, I think that could be the hardest thing, especially for entrepreneurs, because most entrepreneurs are very creative minded. So we have like all the ideas, we have
Yeah.
all the ideas, and I know for me, I've kind of got my foot in the business world, but I've also always had my foot in the wellness world. So for the longest time, it was just like this constant struggle until one day I had to sit and literally have a talk with myself, like I would my client, and say, what's your purpose? What's your why? And really, I figured out it's the same freaking why. It's the same why. I just want to help people live their best life, whether that be, nutritionally, whether it be helping them with their marketing, whatever it is. I just want to help them kind of up the status of their life and be successful kind of in their own mindset. And I think what you're saying is 1000% true on the fact that, you know, there's many opportunities out there, and we can get so distracted from the bright shiny things. We can download all the PDFs all the freaking day long. And I know I need to go. I'm talking to myself. I need to go clean up my email box. I need to do it. I'm dedicating myself to this.
Yes.
I'm going to do it. I can do this. We can do that all day long, but we got to also have skin in the game. And I always say that's exactly why you should work with a coach, a consultant, or, whatever the term, term it what you want. You need to work with somebody to hold you accountable, because if you don't have skin in the game, if I was paying for all
It's a
the
hobby.
crap, yeah,
Mhm.
if I was paying for all that crap that was in my email box, it would not just get
It
like
wouldn't be
marked as
there. No.
no.
Yeah. No.
I would be
You
doing
would have
something with
like
it.
maybe 2 to 3. I know. It's
Yeah.
so true though. It's so true. And once you cross that bridge, there's no going back. Because then you realize that yes, some people do provide some awesome free content. But they need to be making money too. And if you truly believe in the sort of the message that they're providing, etc., support them, help them grow. There's lots of, even since I started in July, there were several coaches that I had followed. Not just coaches, like strategists. Like I love strategy. It's another word. It's another word that's out there so much. It drives me insane. It's like nice strategy, fine. It's like most people I think don't even really understand what strategy is, to be honest. Um, and
They probably
they're
have
looking
selective OCD like me, because I do. That's how I do it.
maybe, but they're looking for someone else to like figure out what their strategy is. And it's like, so I can ask you questions and stuff and we can kind of flush it out, but you already know. You you already know how to solve your own problem if you actually know what that problem is and you know where it is that you're trying to go. The thing that you're bogging down is you're not actually taking any action towards that because you're afraid, because you're busy.
Yep.
I mean, Christ, we're all busy, right?
Yep.
But if, like you were saying, if those emails that came into your inbox, each one costs $5, that would be a
Yep.
big motivator, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Versus, 30. I mean, my inbox is similar. It's just like, what am I doing? And it's like, and then half the time it's like, there's not even name recognition. I'm like, okay, you're out of control. Like, you don't even know who this person is.
Yep.
How did they get my email address? What's going on? Yeah.
Well, it's because, and I say this kind of like in marketing world all the time, is, most people are emotional buyers, and that could be said even for the free crap. So even if you're not
Yeah.
like financially, putting out money, you're still emotionally buying into the idea. And most of us are emotional buyers. So, that goes to show you that they're doing at least a good enough job, because I'm a pretty
To
skeptical
trigger
person.
that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I'm pretty
Oh
skeptical.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I already know that. I don't even know. So if they've got it, it's like, and so I've actually thought about this. I need to go back and look at, what is it that, why did I decide to go ahead and give that? Because I don't just like willy nilly give it out. It has to be something that I think I'm going to utilize at that moment,
Me too.
during my
Mhm.
emotional, I'm emotionally buying into it, that I'm going to use this. It's going to be life changing. I can use this to help my clients, my life, my world, at that moment. So, I mean, it's not that all in all, it's a bad strategy. And I mean, I've gave away free stuff. I do still,
Me too.
because it's a good way to kind of get out there and get yourself in front of people that most wouldn't know who you are, so it's not that it's always a bad thing, but you need to ask yourself, do I need to sign up for 50 of them? Am I going to read 50 of them? Am I going to utilize them? Am I going to be able to change my life 50 times over? No.
No. Again, you're going to be like on the side of the road with the flat tire
Yeah,
going, what just happened to me? What's going on? Where do I
exactly.
go now? Who's going to come and save me? And it's like, you got to save yourself, man. Like you got to really come back to, like you were saying, with your with your marketing business, and then you're also your wellness business that you're drawn to. It's like, what is your why? Like, what's your
Yep.
purpose? What made you think that you wanted to do this to begin with? What is making you hungry? Are you like in a job that you totally hate and it's frustrating? Maybe you lost, maybe this year, I mean, there's so many people that lost their
They
jobs,
have.
or they're furloughed, or they're part-time or whatever. And it's helping them also give time to process, like, is this even a fit for me? And
Mm.
I guess one other point I want to say, I know I'm like all over the place, which
No,
I hope
no.
is okay,
Yeah,
is
we usually are.
oh well,
That also is my
is
branding.
entrepreneurship is not the answer for everybody. I know it
Absolutely.
is also one of the big bright shiny objects that people are very,
Yeah.
very attracted to, because it sounds sexy and it sounds like, yeah, man, I'm going to get my idea out there and like the people are going to come and stuff. It is so much work. If
Yeah.
it is a fit for you, 80% of that work will feed you in a way.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the things that I sign up for too, total emotional signing up, or I think that they have some kind of insight or what have you. But
Magic. It's magic.
yeah, exactly. It's magic. Exactly. There's a crystal ball inside this. I know it.
Yeah.
I know they're going to send me crystals in the mail. I am just waiting.
Exactly.
But it usually triggers you. And for me, what I try to do with that is look at why it triggered me. And it typically helps me develop content.
Yeah.
I mind map on a lot of things, on what it is I'm trying to put out there, or what it is that I'm trying to develop, because it helps me kind of get rid of like the 9 things that I think it meant and bring it down to 2. And it's like, so how am I going to convey this? Because yeah, your mind is like constantly like just churning, and there is so much repetition. And I know for me too, like I'm so drawn to like certain colors.
Yeah. I am
I'm
too.
just giving it all. Yeah, it's just like, wow, that's pretty. I really like turquoise, as I'm sure you can see with my wall.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. And like I love the beach. So it's like every time I see a picture that's the beach, I'm like, stop, pause. But half the time I'm not even reading what the messaging
You're
is.
just
It's
looking.
just, yeah, it's just pretty. It's like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
that's really attractive. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, you need, like you were saying, it's like you need a coach. You need someone that's a couple steps ahead of you, that can help you wrap your head around where it is that you are, where it is that you're trying to go, and just help you like drop all the crap.
Yeah. And
Um,
if you don't feel like they're a couple steps ahead of you, I know I've had a coach that, I mean, I had actually had more quote unquote experience than them, but they looked at things completely different than me. Like they
yeah,
were like my other side of the brain that I just, there's certain ways that we naturally look at things, and there's certain areas that are kind of like our blind spots.
yeah,
And her natural ability was where my blind spot was. So I think it's important to kind of think about what's our natural ability. We all have them. And what's our blind spots? Again, we all have them. I don't care how great you think you are. You have freaking blind spots. And I hate when people are like, well, I don't really know what my blind spot would be. I'm like, oh yeah, well, I can tell you one of them.
that's like, that's like, I have so many ideas. I just don't know what to. It's like we all have lots of ideas, honey. Like, and
Yeah.
having ideas locked in your head or written on a list, or like, wherever written up on your wall, is not going to help you make any money. It's not going to help you be more definitive in what it is that you're trying to do. And
Yeah, I've done
yeah,
that.
I mean,
I've been a list after list person, and then you
oh
feel so
yes,
accomplished
yes.
when you get that list. Like, yeah, it's like, but how much money did I make off that list? $0. I actually made
0.
$0.
Yeah, 0. And now I have to go to the grocery store. Great. Thanks a
Exactly.
lot. Yeah,
So it's
I
just,
know.
I think it's super important to kind of to throw those things out there, because I think it's so common, even in highly productive people. We all again have our things, and we all have our. I always say it's like when I'm not a bowler, but my son used to be a bowler, and the gutter balls. We all have our gutter balls. We all have those things that no matter what, it just ends up in the gutter, right? Those things, and one of mine is I come up with all the ideas, and then I think I can do them, and I think I'm superhuman, and I forget that I have a family and all the all this stuff, and I'm like, I can totally do all the things, but I can't do all the things. So I
Yeah.
have to really be hard on myself, and my coach has to be hard on me to say no. One thing right now, table the others.
And
If you get this one done,
execute
you can do
it.
it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, because I know
Yep.
that about myself. And yes, I could tell somebody else that, but sometimes we're terrible at doing the things that we can tell other people do ourselves.
I completely, I could not agree more. Self-management, I think, is one of the most difficult things, because we was like, well, I could do it this way. I could do it this way. I could do it this way. And if I'm coaching someone, I can see where they sort of energetically come alive. And it's like, that's where you need to focus your energy. Even if you don't know exactly where it's going to lead you, just keep going, keep going. Like you're going to get more ideas, more ideas. Whereas
That's your sweet
me, it's like, exactly. And it's going to develop into more and it's going to feed you in a way where you're going to actually stay motivated and you're going to create that momentum instead of getting bogged down again. For me, like I'm a total list person. I actually have two girlfriends I grew up with that used to refer to my family as the list people because they were always on the fridge.
That's
Or I
great.
had one on my outside on my bedroom door. Yeah, it must be genetic, I'm assuming. And I know for me, if I don't get that list done, or I've given myself 5 tasks to do and I don't get 3 of them done, I am extremely hard on myself. And
Yeah.
it's just like, you got to just roll with it. So,
But you wouldn't be with your client. You
no,
would be like, no, look at your wins. You're looking at your success. And because I'm the same way.
exactly.
Same
So it's
way.
like, you got to
Yep.
like be able to, you got to be able to like flip that switch and look at it in a positive way, because that'll give you internal motivation instead of, telling yourself that you're a piece of shit because you didn't do everything properly, or, why didn't you get all those Christmas cards done, or, something
I quit doing
menial like
Christmas
that.
cards. I'm that person.
Did
I
you?
just decided, I did. And I have been 100% honest with everybody because, sometimes in our life we have to pick and choose things. And I'm like, what do they really do with Christmas cards? Think about, what do
Throw them
you do
out.
with
They
Christmas
recycle
cards?
them. They
So
recycle
why
them.
am I spending so much time stressing myself out trying to get the Christmas picture? Like, it just like, finally I'm like,
I
you know
know.
what? Merry Christmas to everybody. We're not sending Christmas cards ever again. I'm not.
We
I
did not do
refuse.
a we did not do a Christmas picture this year. We
Not.
were able to take one. I live in Seattle, and we were able to take one road trip this summer. And so we went to Central Oregon, which I love because it's like really hot there and stuff. It was really fun, and it was all like socially distant. You had your own like little house, and so we literally have a picture of us with our masks on the side of the pool, and then another one where my son was in some cabana, and it's like that's on our Christmas photo, and it's like this really is it. And some of the cards that I've gotten where everyone's just superposed and they're at the park, whatever. I'm like, we're in a pandemic. Like,
Yeah.
can't you be real like once? Like, can't you have like a
This is
real
my real.
picture?
I'm not doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No,
I'm like,
I get it.
we're to the point I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing
I
it. I'm
know.
not trying to drag everybody. Yeah, I give up. And that's, what?
Oh
And
no, I mean, you have such a huge family. Yeah.
well, and bottom line, and I think this could be said, like, even in our business, what are the things that is going to add to your happiness? It's going to add to your finances, and what are the things that's literally draining you of your energy? And are they things that's going to add to either of those two? The Christmas cards, like the Christmas, and that's why I literally had to ask myself, I'm like, why am I doing the Christmas cards? Because people do them too.
Because it's
Literally, that's the
obligation.
only thing I could
It's
come up with.
it's
Everybody does it. And
all it
I was just like,
is people's overwhelming sense of obligation and
I'm
guilt.
telling you,
And I think
I
that
don't,
relates so much back to a lot of business journeys where they see someone that they think is successful or is telling them that they're successful.
yeah,
Let's not even get started on
exactly.
that. And they're like, well, this person told me to do this. And it's like, so like,
Works
think
for
for
them.
yourself, dude. Like, yeah, like, why it may work for them, or they're just
Yeah,
telling you that that's part of their,
that's true too.
like secret squirrel, whatever.
Yeah,
But if it like takes
a
away
squirrel.
from
I love that.
right, secret squirrel, if it takes away, can't you just see a squirrel with like
I
his little
can.
hat? It's like,
Yeah,
what?
I love it.
Why are you doing it? Like, you're banging your head against the wall. Like, you
Yep.
got to figure out what it is that like you're really good at and how you can move forward. And then you have to find someone to work with where those other things that are not your strengths or that do your head in, that's their jam. And you got to be able
Exactly.
to release it somewhat, delegate it. You got to be willing to pay for it most of the time.
You do.
And then, yeah, and then having someone to like brainstorm with, someone to like throw ideas out there, like having that coach or strategist or whatever it is for you, and be willing to be real with them too. Like, don't
Yeah,
lie.
don't bullshit. Yeah, don't bullshit them. And also, before you make an appointment with a coach or strategist or whatever you decide to go with, literally try to figure out what you think your why is. Now, they may say that's not your why, and don't say it's money or success. I That's like, talk about
If money
triggers.
is your only motivator,
No,
you are not an entrepreneur. Like you don't have that internal compass. And
or
I don't mean that
growth,
as, yeah, it's like,
just growth. I'm like, just growth. Just growth. That's your goal.
what does that even mean?
No, I've got those. These are like real world things before. And I've been posted about it. I'm like, literally, if that's your goals, and it's not a goal, number one, but if it's your goal, don't call me. And I know this sounds terrible, but
There,
I
though,
can't
that is
help
a
you. I
tagline
can't
right
help
there. It's
you with
like,
that.
if you're looking for money or growth, I am not your girl.
I'm not
Just
your
back
person.
off.
It's just like, great. Everybody wants to grow their business and everybody fine. We like money. Okay. That's a given. That is not a goal though.
No, no, it's so vague. That's the problem.
It
Is
is.
it's like
Yeah.
it's so vague, and it's like you can't take action on vague. Like you gotta,
Nope.
like
And
get a little
success.
bit
I just want to
deeper.
be successful. Those are
No,
my
my
favorite.
favorite is, and not that I don't like the terminology. It's just, again, it doesn't. Is like it's time for you to up level. Well,
Yeah.
to where? If I don't
Yeah.
even
Where
know
are you
where I
going?
am, where the hell am I going to know where I'm going? It's like, oh, no, that's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Grind is
sounds
another.
so awesome.
Grind is
What's that?
another one of my words. Grind, or like the rise and grind. And I've said it in the past. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure like somebody will be like, "Well, you said it during this date," and I'm like, "Yes, I have. I have said it." And sometimes I only say it because hashtag expert tells me I need to tag at that. However, in reality, the idea that you just are just grinding all the time. I had that mentality until I literally had a nervous breakdown. I'm not using that term figuratively. I'm actually being literal. Nervous breakdown. And because I thought that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a mom, as a wife, I had to do all the things and I had to do all the things perfect. And I wasn't even close to perfect, but I kept trying to
Yeah,
reach this perfection because, again, I'm looking at everybody else's shit on social media thinking, well, they're doing it. Why can't I? And I couldn't put something out there less than par. So I just didn't ever put anything out there because I didn't think it measured up. And that's the whole reason. Once I had kind of my own little nervous breakdown, I'm like, this is bullshit. Nobody's stuff is actually that perfect anyway. Yeah, they may have had 2 extra hours to make it look like it was that I didn't have, but it still was not perfect. So I'm
yeah,
just going to start
yeah.
throwing my not perfect stuff. Yeah.
The comparison game just like whittles us down so much, and it's like, yeah. I mean, you just gotta as long as what you're putting out hopefully doesn't have a whole bunch of grammatical errors, and you've edited it a couple of times and it actually makes sense to you, share it. Like
Yeah.
stop self-editing and then thinking that maybe your photo isn't perfect or this isn't perfect or my God, is that centered enough or whatever. I mean, I am so in that crowd, and it's kind of like that is what has totally held me back from doing video snippets or what have you, because it's
Well,
like,
you
well,
should. You
how?
should do it. You're great
Yes.
on
And it's
video.
like,
You're
what are
great on
you
video.
doing? Oh, you're very kind. But it's
See?
like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you doing it? What are you afraid of? And it's definitely like, I'm going to get more DMs. But
Yeah.
um, that's inevitable, right? But
Yeah.
it's like, you're going to have to go back and actually see yourself talk and
Which
all,
is
yeah,
weird at first. I will
yeah.
agree. It is very weird at first. I didn't even watch myself back for the longest time or
That's
listen
a
to
great
myself.
tip.
I
Don't watch
didn't.
yourself.
I
Exactly.
didn't.
Just
It's just
don't.
what
Just
it
put it
is.
out there and like see what happens and just keep motoring forward. Like stop, almost post judging yourself
Yep.
or other people too. It's like
Yeah.
when you're negative towards other people or like, well, she didn't do a great job or he didn't do a great job. It's like, why are you even wasting your energy on it? Like,
Yeah.
why are you allowing to have like rental space in your head when they're not thinking about you? It's like, who
Exactly.
cares?
Well, and the thing is we all start somewhere. So whether, it's they're early in their videoing journey or entrepreneur journey or whatever, we all, because I even listen back to some of the podcasts when I first started and it's like, it's terrible. It's so bad. And I'm sure I'll listen back to these and be like, wow, it's terrible because we all grow and we change
Mhm.
and we refine. And I have post-it notes all over my office and there that says done's more profitable than perfect because I have to have these quotes to say.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true. Yes, you don't want to just throw a bunch of shit out there. You want it to at least be kind of okay. But perfection is a verb. We perfect as we go along.
Yeah. And you don't have to, exactly. It's like, you don't have to be so methodical that you, in your mind, you're like, well, I posted this last Monday and then
Yeah.
I'm going to post this the next Monday. And there's actually some continuity there. And like only the smart people will see it. It's like people don't give a shit at all. Like they sometimes the things that I slam up there, like I'm writing like late at night or whatever, that's the stuff that like I can't even believe the feedback I get from it. And I'm like,
Yep.
wow, like that was completely off the cuff um and real. Like I didn't self-edit. I didn't
Well, that shows you that's what people want, though. They
yes,
want your
totally.
real. Your people will want the real you. And if
Yeah.
they don't, then they're not your people. Plain and
Yeah.
simple. So,
Yeah.
and I love that. Where, like, I know I stalk you on Instagram. I already said that, but go ahead and give your Instagram handles and anywhere else that somebody can kind of stalk you too, I guess. Yeah, follow you. Don't DM her though. Don't say that. I'm not sanctioning
No, no,
DM.
no, no, no. Just don't DM and sell
Just
me like
don't
when you don't
DM.
even my
Yeah.
personal favorite is like the DMing you and they've got like an auto introduction maybe or something.
Oh yeah.
I am not that up on the DM anyways. And it's like they're asking me what it is that I do. It's like, really? Like didn't you just come from
Yeah.
my maybe not. So my handle on Instagram is at strategy Sandra. You could also find me that way on Facebook. Facebook right now, I just have like a business page. I want
Yeah.
to start like a little group, but I haven't had the bandwidth, and I want to do a good job, so I haven't really done that. My website is sandrawatson.co. So right now I have two things that I offer. I'm doing a jumpstart strategy session, which is an hour. It's really to get people sort of to hit the ground running in 2021. Right now is a really great time because there's so much, I think, just continued chaos now, especially that there's a vaccine slowly rolling out, at least the first one is, to really figure out what it is that you're going to try to accomplish next year. I think everyone has really like kind of been smaller this year because there's so much out there that we have no idea what's going to happen. But in reality, it's like that every year. It's
It
just
is.
this year it's been a public health crisis across
Mhm.
it affected the
There's
entire world,
always
not
going to
just
be
one
the
little
mess.
pocket.
Yeah, there's always
Um,
going to be the mess.
yeah, so you can actually go to my website and directly book that or on Instagram, or you can also reach out to me and we can do a consult call. I do those for 30 minutes, also bookable both ways. Um, and then I have an 8-week program that I do. It's called the Roadmap. And that's really for entrepreneurs that typically already have an idea, or maybe they've already launched and they're, like you're saying, they're looking to grow, but they're looking to maybe add more offerings or even lessen what it is that they're offering
Yeah.
because they want to become even more clear about where it is that they're trying to go, and they're realizing that they're kind of all over the place. So it's really kind of sort of coming back to your starting point wherever you are, and looking at maybe your new point B that you're trying to get to. And it's actually a lot of fun. Like I do weekly assignments. We chat for the first 4 weeks. We have coaching calls, and then you have access to me via Voxer. Um, it's a good deal, and I feel like it's long enough. I've done coaching before with people where it was 12 weeks. And for me personally, that's too long
It's too much of a
because
commitment. You talk
I think there's
out
a
of it.
little bit more dependency
Yeah.
there. And you really want to, be motivating them to like be taking action every week or even, every day if they can. So.
And I'll make sure that the links are in the show notes when this airs. And I'll
Sure.
probably be popping this video up on YouTube. I like to pop the behind the scenes up on YouTube just so it gets out there sooner. Behind the scenes, raw and real. So anyway, I'll make sure that's all in the notes, and that way you can get in touch with Sandra. Don't DM her and say that I told you to, because that's not true. Um, so if you get DMs from this, I am not sanctioning that at all. So you can
It's
stalk the
totally
page
fine.
because you've got
It's
great
totally
content.
fine.
You really do. So it's been a blast having you on here,
Thank
and thank
you.
you so much.
Yeah, you too. It's been really great to chat with you.